starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk, Monday night, the 17th day of the month of December. We are live. Looking forward to finding out what's on your mind this evening. And so, as always, I got a couple of things I want to talk about as I set things up on my end. But more importantly, want to find out what's been happening in your world. So, my name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube show, coming from Detroit, Michigan. And so, give me a second here as I get this stuff lined up. And then we can get going. Give it a second for more people can chime in and join in. And more importantly, as I set the chat up on my end, love to find out where you're watching us from. So as always, one thing I definitely want to talk about, or two primary subjects that I think is worth talking about, is the Dow Jones continuing to have its correction, as it looks like every week there's several hundred points that drops off, and then all of a sudden there's a rally or a recovery of some sort. And then also want to get your thoughts on this current Bitcoin sudden spike out of nowhere, and share with you my thoughts on how it could be just a pump fake, as it's meant to take and divert attention off of exchanges. As I've mentioned in the past, how exchanges are probably under a lot of pressure right now, given the fact that this upcoming year they're going to be facing a lot of regulatory type of processes, and so the goal is to get as liquid as they can with actual cryptos. And so I think the whole proof of key that's been promoted amongst the alternative media from some pretty big influential cryptocurrency people is a part of that equation as well. So that being the case, waiting on my chat to pop up here on my screen, and then we can get this thing full-fledged and going. Let me copy this again. And then also trying something different tonight. In the prior live streams, I had used my phone for streaming or answering calls, but tonight I'm going to try to actually do it from the computer itself and see how that works. So if anybody wants to give a call and share what's on your mind, the number above my head is 1-833-LIVE-RTD. It's a number for you to call and to speak to me directly. So feel free to do so, and then we can see how that call feature on the computer works. And so other than that, what's happening out here? It says Mike's falling 401k is on my mind tonight. Death by debt. I just mentioned the idea of, so the question I'm going to throw out there right now that was on my mind prior to clicking, go live, is for those that are doubting and those that are, we have any doubters out there, any people that might be new to the channel that's not aware of the whole theme of this channel and Rethinking the Dollar, is basically realizing that everything we've been taught, told, and positioned in front of is one big illusion, hence the whole idea of this financial matrix we're in, and we're seeing the correction from a, let me see, what can I word, a fictitious and fake economy or recovery. And so we're just basically seeing what is going to be considered at the end of the day a simple correction, that's all. But it's unfortunate that this correction has been prolonged 10 years due to easy credit and all types of manipulative monetary policies. But it's only right that this thing does correct. And so my question that I want to put out there tonight is, how many more stock market dips, or how many Dow Jones points must be lost? Or that's kind of loud. Must be lost before you decide to change up and do something different. So Let's take this call and see how it works. Let me unmute this. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, it's just Dave out of San Jose.
Dave out of San Jose. How you doing this evening, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah. Good, bro. I want to talk about a couple of things.
Okay.
Mike, last week, Department of Homeland Security sent out a message that the Washington Inquirer picked up. Not a message, but an announcement that said that people need to get up to 6 months water, food, and money.
Yeah.
Because we may be in a situation that's going to be dire. And then today, the bill comes out, and Mike, the wording that they're using is like catastrophic. It's not the normal, like, things may just blow over. They're using some real serious language.
Yes.
And I think that we keep talking about things are going to be happening. I think it's already happening, Mike. I think that things are already rolling.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell the community, but that if they start looking at these facts, the reason why they're coming out is so when the fall happens, then they can always go back and say, look, we did try to warn you. We did try to tell you.
Right.
And I think that's what that's about.
I agree 100%. And I think it was earlier this year, I mentioned that if you look at the various types of indicators out there, because every economist / financial guru has their own 1 or 2 metrics they use to basically to relay that we are already in a recession. And so I'm not sure who the guest was earlier this year, but they mentioned, Mike, we're already in a recession. It's just it hasn't come to the light yet. And usually in order to get the true accurate measurement of a recession, it's usually 2 quarters of GDP of less growth. And so that usually takes another 6 or 7 months or to a year for it to be announced in the past. So I wouldn't doubt if those 2 quarters that would be needed has already occurred. And so we're now starting to see the truth, but they're trying their best to basically keep mainstream narrative saying that everything is great. And not sure if you had a chance to watch some of the mainstream little news clips, but they're saying, yeah, this is a great time to buy and all that stuff like that. They said, I think it was from the White House itself today, one of the press secretaries said the economy is great, it's strong right now. So when you hear stuff like that, that lets you know that they're trying to keep calm amongst the public, because there's many articles out here that are saying that big money investors are already running. They've been running for a while. And the only people left in these fictitious markets are the uninformed and the passive investors. So I do agree with you 100%, my friend.
Yeah, Mike, not only that, the worst part is that they're selling while they're telling us that everything's great. They're selling. The top cats, the big cats, the fat cats, they're selling. And the worst part about it is that the people that are buying are all these institutions that have pensions and have mutual funds, ETFs, that all the individuals are going to take the fall. Yeah. If we keep talking about the institutions are going to take the fall. Yeah. The institutions is made up of individual investors, pension funds. It's not like it's just some building that's going to fall. It's people that's in the building that's going to get hurt. Right. So when they keep saying, "Oh, it's institutional investors," well, where are these institutions getting their funds from? Right. You know, they never go beyond that part. Like they never like try and break it down to say, "Hey, listen, if you have a pension, you may be in trouble." Right. And that's what people need to hear. Right. They need to hear that. Listen, that the people on the very top are getting themselves prepared. They're getting their weight up. All right, they're getting their weight. Exactly, 100%. You know. I agree, my friend. Well, thank you. Well, definitely appreciate you calling in. Also, Mike, if you could do a solid, if any chance you can, read that Biz report that came out today. I got it. If you could pull it up, I got it on the screen right now, bro. Because the wording itself is the most frightening part of that whole thing. Not that they came out and said anything, but they're the central bank of central banks. Right. And this wording that they're coming out with is extremely terrifying. Really, that's the only word I can use. Right. Is that it's a wake up. It's a slap in the face. Yeah. So you know, no matter what they're saying on the mainstream media, look at what the top dogs are saying. And correct. The Biz is the toppest dog. Right. They're the biggest dog out here. Right. And, I agree. They're saying things are going to get tragic. Yeah. And so I got it right now. I'm going to touch on it. Media. Good deal. Well, I appreciate you, my friend, for calling. Okay. I got it on the screen now. I'm about to touch on it right now. Listen to it right now, Mike. All right, boss. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. Good stuff as always. And so, yeah, that was kind of loud. So
definitely for those that are tuning in, let me know if the audio was good, because trying something different using a computer directly as opposed to my phone. So I want to make sure everything is good there. But so just let me know on your end how everything is sounding, and then I will do some things differently. Let me open that back up. All right, so I'm going to touch on this article briefly, because this is the article he was referring to, and it has to do with the business of international settlements, which is, as you mentioned, the bank of all banks. And so it says here, BIS warns of more market turbulence, and this is as of today. It says recent sharp sell-off across the global financial markets are probably the first of many as investors adjust to a world of tighter monetary conditions and a threat of economic downturn. So just that's in that paragraph itself, tighter monetary conditions. Hence the idea of quantitative tightening. So for the last 10 years, the ECB, as of this month, will dial back on easy money printing or counterfeiting money to prop up their EU economy there. And so total in the last 10 years or 8 years or so, 2.6 trillion euros, if I'm not mistaken, has been brought into existence out of nowhere to acquire junk liabilities that the banks have taken on their books. And so now the U.S. is starting to tighten and unwind that stuff. EU is stopping theirs, but yet watch. In the next year, the next 12 to 24 months, I can guarantee you that there is some type of easing or stimulus that must be injected, as it says here that the threat of an economic downturn is underway. So it has more information here. Let me see if anything stands out. It says steadily rising U.S. interest rates may also put a squeeze on the availability of dollars, the global funding currency of choice, but the BIS said the financial sector's ability to raise dollar funding outside the United States could mitigate the risk. So once again, everything boils back down to the USD, the dollar. And so if we've been paying any attention to what's been happening with the dollar, regardless of what the Dixie is, that's just a dollar index made of about 5 or 6 currencies, of which are all having issues right now. And because of this whole monetary tightening, it's going to be a matter of now having to print more currencies, which is basically a race to the bottom of who can devalue their currency the fastest to compete against each other. So nothing good will result from this. But caller, thank you for sharing that information. So what else we got going on in the chat here? Feel free to call in. As always, let me know what's on your mind. Tonight, we're going to be on the line about 30, 40 minutes, give or take, on the dial back from the hour format, just so that I can try to get more other videos done throughout the day and give people a chance to actually tune into the nuts and the meats and bolts of this interview or this chat here. So as always, thanks for tuning in. My name is Mike, the host of RTD. It says, what do you think about these liquidations? And so liquidations, what exactly are you referring to? Feel free to let me know, Darnell. It says IMF warned with serious language to the IMF. Yeah, I actually watched a video today with the IMF defensive lawyer or something of that nature, and the XRP CEO mentioning, this is from an interview that they did, or a joint stage presentation type of thing, open forum that they did in Singapore, back in November. And I meant to do a video earlier but couldn't get to it. But it basically, at the 29-minute mark of the video, of a 30-minute or 31-minute video, they had an open forum, and so they were not actually reading off script. So both of them had scripted questions on what to ask, but then they opened up to the audience, and the audience asked a question about, do you see central banks, do you see the IMF acquiring cryptocurrencies? And it was just like the guy just was caught off guard. He didn't know what to say. He had the microphone, and it was literally 5 seconds. He was like, just caught off guard, not knowing what to say, obviously because they have some things going on that he couldn't say. But then the XRP CEO ended up mentioning, joking, and trying to ease some of the pressure off of him. But from all that was said, he basically said that I'm just a lawyer. I'm not able to really talk about it. But in order for the IMF to acquire cryptocurrencies, he said that there must be a change of the laws of countries, because there would need to be a cryptocurrency that becomes legal tender of a country itself for the IMF to consider incorporating cryptocurrencies into their portfolio or their basket of currencies. And so when I read that, or heard that rather, the first thought was, he mentioned that there will be a need to adjust current laws, which lets me know that it will be possible to adjust laws in a dire situation for one of the G7 nations, predominantly, that are the holders of that currency basket for the IMF. So that is Japan, the UK, the US. What else we got there? Japan. Who else? Let me see. Who else? Give me some more names out there for the G7s. That's 4. But any one of those 7 there are predominantly the basket currency. China as well. And so if any one of those nations allowed cryptocurrency to become legal tender, then the IMF could then step in and incorporate it into their system, and they would definitely be using XRP. So just a little side note on the IMF. It says, even the IBS warned of possible recession. It was a little too loud. Craig Gordon, I got you, my friend. Thank you. I'll definitely try to dial it back. Some. It looks like we have another caller. So let's get to this call.
Hello?
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Craig out of Beaumont.
Craig out of Beaumont. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I heard one guy earlier, his first call, he was talking about that report they had from the Homeland Security thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen some things on that on my YouTube and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I kind of got mixed feelings on it, but my first intuition, my first thing on it is I think this message is more along the lines of a litmus test.
Okay, elaborate on that for me.
Okay, well, are you familiar with the Y2K back in 2000?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then how that flopped?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that could be one of those, but I'm thinking with this particular one, it's popping up like it is. It's popped up in a certain time of the year where a lot of people are at home, and you know, there's always a slowdown in this month.
Yeah.
The fourth quarter is always the worst quarter of the market.
Yeah.
First of all, let's go ahead and get that clarified.
Yep.
So, as far as like basing all the dips and the unstable movements in the markets, I mean, you can't really base anything solidly on that except for just your reports they've been giving out, as far as like the jobless reports, you know, the basic stuff that you just go by on the markets.
Yeah.
Now, you also have to take in consideration that you're going to have a slight deviation on that because it's the fourth quarter. It's always the downside of a quarter of the year a year.
Yeah.
Just the simple fact that the yields come out.
Yeah.
But setting that on the side, I think this thing from Homeland Security, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that it's truth or I'm not saying it's false. I mean, it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say anything like that, but my point of view on it is that it looks like more along the lines of the litmus test of seeing how many viewers or subscribers are tuning in on, as far as like testing the media itself and getting a public reaction on the internet.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me. So
yeah,
and because you've always had this thing going on, fake news. That's been the number one topic of the year, fake news.
Yeah, and do you remember how long ago that started and the origin of how the fake news came about?
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is, so you take that and you look at, and if I was in a think tank, you know, in a media think tank, I would go like, well, how effective is this social media and these places like YouTube or Patreon? How just exactly how effective are they as far as communicating and getting their point across to the people?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this could be one of those litmus tests.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, a lot of people don't believe. I mean, it's a known fact that a lot of people now do not have as much faith in the mainstream media. I mean, it's obvious.
Right. Right. I agree, 100%. And so the thing is,
it could very well be one of those things that, you know, a group of people in the think tank will say, hey, well, let's just see how effective this thing really is. Let's put this message out there and see who bites. You know, like a fishing expedition. You know, you tell a rumor and you look at amongst crowds, see who's going to be the first one that bites and runs with it.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And so it was interesting how that whole article, because I think we talked about this last week a little bit, but the article, when I put it up on the screen, it was in reference to preparation or possibility of some type of terrorist attack. And I mentioned at that time that we haven't heard the word terrorist in reference to our homeland in quite a while because of all the political crap that's going on. But then they link terrorists with what's happening around the border, and then they mention the power grid. So you got the border, terrorists, power grid. And so those are all things that are probably some excuses and some scapegoats that could be used as some type of false flag in the months ahead. And so it could be a warning of something that could happen, B, a scare tactic, or 3, C, just to see, to put the truth out there and to see what happens. So it's any type of way we want to take it. But I found it interesting that they put the terrorists, the border, and power grid all in the same, article, whatever. So, but definitely, we are aware of it now. So, I mean, now it's just a matter of, okay, we should have been prepared long before now. So, but hello, are you still there? Yep.
I got one more thing to say, and I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
But this also have a third purpose.
Yeah.
It could be one of those deals that is like, instead of playing checkers, you're playing chess in the media position. Get information.
Right.
What one move can I make that'll take care of 3 needs simultaneously?
Right.
And someone could have said, "Hey, look, let's put this out there and let's see how effective it is.
Yeah.
And let's see what the reaction is. And the third one, can it be manipulated?"
Right. Hey, you could be, hey, my friend, I do believe anything is possible. So I appreciate you sharing your insights and your input. So thank you, my friend, for call.
All right, no problem.
All right, have a good night.
All right, bye.
Yeah, man, good stuff as always. Good stuff as always. Appreciate you calling in and sharing that. And so here, I'm going to get to that liquidation question in a second, but then given the fact the caller just mentioned, December is typically a rough time of the year for equities, but yet when you got articles like this, it says the stock market is on pace for the worst December since the Great Depression, and then it talks about some actual information beneath that, which gives you actual years at which the equities market, hence the S&P, Dow Jones, all had some turbulent times, and so it says we're on pace, and we're only halfway through the month, give or take the holiday season. So just to give you an idea as to how bad it was, if they, according to the measurements here, in reference to the top 10 worst S&P 500 December performances, it says 1931, it was a 14.5% drop. And so right now, where we at now, so as of 2008, we're halfway there. So this is the second worst December, and it's only halfway through December at 7.8, dropped off the S&P. And then we got for the Dow, we got in 1931, we got 17% was the dip within the month of December by itself, and we are not nowhere halfway there. But once again, we're halfway through. So the question would be, even if we go beyond the 7%, say to 10%, 11%, that's still 11% drop in a time frame where we're already in an artificially induced equities market. And so, as another article here, and now this gets back to the liquidation aspect in reference to the question or the question mentioned in the chat, and it talks about let me pull this up here, and it gives you some interesting graphs. But it says forced fund liquidation. It says stocks slammed by a barrage of massive sale programs. So the first thing that came to mind when I saw barrage of massive sale programs is artificial intelligence, i.e. algorithms that are running these markets. And so given the fact that all of this global economy is interlinked in some form or fashion, all these markets, derivatives, equities, bonds, they're all linked together because everyone's been supporting each other by borrowing from each other and supporting each other's economies and currencies. And so here we have a algorithm-based economy for the most part. And so you have all these gyrations of sell-offs and whatnot and all the details that go into this. But in an artificial economy factored in with algorithm type trading, which is non-human control, they based it upon different types of metrics and data that's inputted into those computers. But yet I believe that it is, once again, that sounds like an experiment to me, because most of the algorithms, I would imagine, have never been tested in an environment such as this when everything is artificial. So I'm not surprised at all at these sell-offs. And so this stuff right here, not even knowing the markets like this, but just these graphs here, you got these upswings that just looks like something is not right, because it doesn't look like normal, somewhat smooth type rhythm. This is major gyrations here, and it's basically somebody or something or some computer in somebody's basement or service system dumping stuff massively. But yet it's good to say that they're dumping it for those that are in the know, and for those that are not in the know, their stuff is still stuck in the S&P and Dow and everything else, and the Nokia and all them other exchanges around the world and people are being told to diversify in all those things, but yet they're all under attack right now. So that's just my little 2 cents on the whole sell-off aspect. Feel free to chime in, let me know what your thoughts are on that, and we go from there. But as always, we got another call. Let's find out what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from California.
What's your name, buddy?
Andrew.
Andrew, how you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, I wanted to add a little something to what that guy was saying.
Okay.
About the Department of Homeland Security or whatever.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, it seems to me, I save up food, but the main reason I've ever had to save food for is economic reasons, like loss of a job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the point that you made about, border terrorists, the electrical grid.
Yeah.
I mean, that could just be, a fear tactic in the media to, cause you to, do the behavior they want you to do. But honestly, I would think that an economic situation would be a much more serious problem that would disrupt, food supply.
Mm-hmm.
If a terrorist attack, if someone's going to use a cyber attack, it's going to affect the whole grid. If
Mm-hmm.
there's a terrorist attack against the electrical grid, it would probably be like an isolated geographic area
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't affect the whole entire grid and would probably be repaired pretty quickly.
Right, very true. But also keep in mind, just not to cut you off, but yet when I mentioned terrorists and the linkage to what's happening along the border, because beyond the fact that we're told that it's Guatemalan, Hondurans, El Salvadorians, and whoever else, I would imagine, and I'm sure you probably can agree, that there's been some other nationalities placed strategically in that group of people that's probably from the Middle East or wherever else to create some type of major event that could be amongst that crowd. And that's why the whole terrorist aspect is what stood out to me. But go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I don't think there's any huge threat of Hondurans or El Salvadorians bombing anything or doing anything like that. And if Middle Easterns really wanted to do something like that, I could see them, I don't think they have the computer capabilities to do what, say China or Russia would do in terms of hacking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would affect a small geographic area, and I think it would probably, my original thought would be that it would be more for economic reasons, but that was, they came up with that as a reason why you might want to store more food. In my mind, in lieu of all the debt and all these issues going on monetarily, I'd say that's a much larger threat to people worldwide than a portion of the electrical grid being damaged, by terrorist attacks.
I agree, but yet at the end of the day, whether that stuff is fake or officially fake news or propaganda strategically placed in the news to see who will bite, whether you say we bit the bait or not, I think is a good heads up as to what could be one day, because it ultimately points to the idea of being prepared outside of just being passive and just laying back and thinking that everything is all hunky dory. So I think it's a blessing to still be given a heads up, even though if it's just a bunch of hot air, because it should direct people to begin preparing for something of that nature. So because most people aren't prepared for much of anything other than day to day, every Friday going to the grocery store, doing what they normally do, because we've been blessed in this nation to so far. So, but thank you for calling in, my friend. Appreciate your thoughts and your input.
What's that?
I said no. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate you for your sharing your insight and your input on the matter. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Great show.
Thank you. Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. I appreciate the feedback and the input there. And so as always, feel free to call in. We'll get you online here, trying to work this computer, doing something a little bit different. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, Mike? This is Gerald calling from Canada again, man. I love listening to your show.
Gerald, how you doing, my friend? Merry Christmas, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, Merry. They're going to take your money holiday to you, too. So, listen, let me chime in on that terrorism, and because the other guy who called and said about the YouTube and the internet and all that. Let's go back to programming.
Okay.
Remember when 9/11 happened and then they told us that a man in the cave bombed that World Trade Center?
Yeah.
Remember all that chaos, and then you see the false flags with the school of Sandy Hook and then the bombing.
Yeah.
You got to remember, man. They're always talking about the terrorists, but we're living in the terrorist country, and that's what I was telling Faith Hunter. Yeah. The scary thing is that, and I'm older than you. 10 years ago, maybe even 20. Like, wasn't nobody talking about money. Look how things have changed from it was love, then somehow they made us change about money, then it went to the rap music, and that's the only thing that's upholding the United States, because these rappers are talking about money, cars, and clothes, when look who controls them. It's all a manipulation of mind control. They do not like people talking about economics. Just like after the World Trade Center. What did George Bush Jr. say? Go to Disneyland. Go on a vacation.
Yeah, buy a house.
He said that. Buy a house. Now, I'm going to throw this at you all, and guess what they're doing as soon as the NFL football season is over?
What's that? Go ahead.
They about to start another football league. So I'm going with the Alex Trebek, or you're not entertained for 400, Alex. So they want to make sure that they keep the people such as you, me, Faith Hunter, anybody else in that room talking about anything. This is why they're now trying to control their cryptocurrency. This is why these other countries are lining up. And it really don't look good for us, because we, as a people of different cultures, we're beginning to talk, but we're still too slow. We need to know the true history of the United States, and the fact is that me and you are not from Africa. We are from this place, where the Europeans are from. It's like, wait a minute, there was a life going on before these people came with Reconstruction. So you reconstructed our mind. You wrote all these economical laws on holidays at night. And then didn't think that we would find out that your lies are unraveling. And as I told Faith, they're putting it right in front of you. It's called the resistance. Guess who we are, man? We are the resistance. We're the ones who don't like them feeding us their BS 24/7, every day, all day, even during the holidays. So,
hey, man,
it hurts.
That's real.
It hurts, but I'm glad that a young brother like you doing it, because when I used to talk like this, I used to be called so many names, and I don't want to say them, but it's like they used to get mad because my grandmother forced me to read a book and forced me to think, which after a while she didn't have to force me. I was on automatic. So I love you, brother.
Appreciate
Keep up the good work, and I'm going to call in again.
Thank you, brother.
All right?
Appreciate you, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. All right. Yeah, man. That is true, real talk amongst everything else. So, it's just great to hear so many different thoughts and insights from people all across the country. And so I'm looking right below the screen here. Where is it at? Right over there. Right here. It says a voice for the people. So to be able to gather this evening and share what's on your mind and just go back and forth and speak truth, or what we consider truth, which is what we never received during our formal educational years, is very encouraging that people are able to chime in and share what's on their mind. So appreciate you guys for calling in and checking in with me. So feel free to call in. Go a couple more minutes and we're going to dial back for this evening and keep things moving tomorrow evening and then go from there. But as always, I missed a couple calls. Feel free to call back in. Get you on here before we dial back. But Gerald mentioned made a statement that brought an idea, and it's about the movement. Right now there's a movement going on, and first thing that came to my mind was what's happening in France with the yellow vest movement of people basically saying enough's enough. They want change, and they're actually hitting the streets wanting change. And what really led me to believe that it's probably becoming an authentic movement. I imagine it probably started off at first just some younger gentlemen pissed over the increase in the gas price, whatever. But yet now it's moved into the law enforcement or into the judiciary system where I saw a video of lawyers throwing their what is it? Their lawyer, whatever. Well, I'm not sure what it is. The lawyer's code book, whatever it is that they swear to, whatever, to protect and serve. They're throwing it in fires over there, saying, "To hell with this law here, because this law that we've been told to work under is not true, authentic law." And so they're basically pissed over there, and they're burning their books over there. You got lawyers, people who dedicated their whole lives to defend and protect and serve and whatever it is they bought into, but now they're waking up and saying, enough's enough, we don't want to do that no more, we want the truth, we want change. And so that made me think, like, man, it's if it wasn't, it definitely is a real movement now, because you have people that's probably making high income earners deciding to say, to hell with it, we walking off the job, we want justice. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be a matter of how far will the yellow vest movement spread. And I mentioned or thought about over this weekend, and just, you know how I love throwing stuff out there just to get your response, and just to, say that we were the first to probably mention it here. But the goal is, not the goal, but I was thinking about the yellow vest movement. Not sure where the yellow vest actually came into play, apart from it probably being a symbol, initially probably a piece or something of that nature, before it became chaotic over in France. But will there be a yellow vest movement here in the United States of America is a question that I want to give you guys right now. Let me know in the chat as to whether or not you think there will be one, and more importantly, will there be one in the next couple of months? Because I have a somewhat of a feeling that that movement in France will spread, and then it's going to come out west, and we will see what happens and go from there. So what else says, said, call in, Scott, tell us what's happening. So it says, somebody, did you see about the Ebola in Africa? The Ebola. Somebody called in about a couple weeks ago and referenced that the reason it became a somewhat of an open story is the fact that some of the Asian corporations in that area, some of the Chinese people caught Ebola and took it back to China. And so they had to quarantine and do all types of things with some situations in China now, which was originated from Africa. So I heard about that article there. And so not sure how far it's gone now as far as the outbreak is concerned. But, to my knowledge, not really sure on the medical side of things. But I thought Ebola was something that was contained, even though I believe it's probably one of those manufactured illnesses or whatnot. But yet, why now and where did it come from will be the question. And so my first thought is always to question what I'm told or seen or shown on the mainstream news. So I tend not to think the worst, but yet I'm open to whatever. And so when I heard about the Ebola, I'm like, well, that's probably a strategically placed situation right there that's impacting the Chinese to help disrupt some of the developments they have in Africa right now. So we'll see. But it says, no yellow vests in the USA. The lawyers have been bought off. S. Douglas, that's a good one. That's a good one there. It says, the class will bring down the house. No yellow jackets here. Has been bought off. It says, wow, gonna block me. Not gonna block anybody. Just keep it legit. Just keep it 100. Keep it clean. Keep it user friendly. Just because I want to make sure I respect and honor everybody's opinion here, and I don't want to get all foolish on and going. I don't do the racial stuff. I don't do stuff that divide. If you're gonna chime in the chat, be inclusive of everyone's opinions and thoughts and feelings, because it's all about unification, not division, my friend. And so it's whatever you want to do. What else? It says, just my humble opinion, the KKK used to terrorize black people, hate black people, beat black people, people burn down black people houses. Aren't no terrorist group ever did that much terror in the United States of America. The group ever did that much terror. Yeah, man, like, some of the comments that people leave on the videos that I posted is just like, wow, it amazes me. I'm assuming they're trolls. They got to be trolls, because I'm thinking like, this is, we're in 2018, man. If you still use color as a reference point in your mind to degrade other people, I'm like, man, grow up, son. Yeah, that's bad. But, he teaches on, do what you got to do. Says, no, they said they don't think they can contain it. Wow. So they can't contain Ebola. Wow. That's not good. Government shutdown. I just said facts to William. And so government shutdown. Okay, by this Friday, I heard. By this Friday, there need to be some decisions made or we will have a shutdown. And of course, President Trump said he's about that. So we'll see. We will see. We will see. So I'm more than, like we already see how things are crumbling and coming apart at the seams already. And as I mentioned in prior news live streams, is that these are all just trembles, getting ready for the big quake, the financial quake that's going to really bring down a lot of artificially induced housing as far as the financial institutions, some governments. It's going to expose the central banks, and then they're going to be forced to do what they do best, which is to bring fictitious paper and IOU notes into existence as well as digital. And that's going to, cause all hell to break loose. It says if the Dow is 2,200, it's over. If the Dow hits 22,000, it's over. Yeah. And so based upon the fact that it looks like every week there's several hundred points that's knocked off, and within the next 24 hours it's gained back partially. The question I mentioned earlier is how many more dips does it take for you to realize that something is already crumbling? How many more dips does it take for you to realize that something is already wrong with that form of financial investing or what I imagine, we're going to look back and say, how could you have gambled in something that you saw with all those issues and hearing about all the problems that the nations around the world were having? How could you keep your livelihood in that? Will be some of the narrative people will hear in years ahead. So, but it says 5G in Sacramento, California has everyone asleep. I'm down for yellow vest. Wear mine. 5G. Let's say that for another night, because I'm gonna leave it there. Donald Trump is doing the same thing about a group of people being terrorists. Very much so. And so definitely his choice of words never is really user friendly. And so assuming that statement there is in reference to those that below the border as being terrorists. And so the idea that you have thousands of people, that's what we see via video, thousands of people heading his way for no apparent reason other than they were initially promised something by someone, which made them all decide to give up everything they knew and loved to come here. And so we'll see how long, I haven't actually heard much about the border situation. So it's good to say those people haven't walked back yet. So either they will be let in or they're going to force their way in. And if they force their way in, that will then be justifiable in using the words terrorist, because if you're not wanted and if you don't go about the process lawfully, there's a steps towards becoming a resident and obtaining a visa. And if people don't go that route, that's illegal. And if they force their way through, I'm not sure what word will be justifiable to use beyond some type of that, because it is, they're causing terror along the border. So if I definitely was close to that border, especially not being too far, miles away from the border, and with all those people down there coming this way, I would imagine that I wouldn't be necessarily happy with what would be coming into my city and disrupting way of life there outside of what is already there. So, but we'll see. It says too many creature comforts to be genuinely woke. I'm giving you thumbs up for speaking on it. Will, appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. But as always, people, we're about to dial back this evening. Actually went longer than I was intending on going, but it was all fine and good because we have so much great participation. As always, if you've enjoyed tonight's chat, give us a thumbs up, just so more people can find out about it. And if there's anything that was said during this chat that resonated well with you, feel free to share this video so we can bring more people into the flock to understand and commute and to build up a community of like-minded individuals to encourage one another, but more so stay on top of the most important stories as we end this year with what's happening now. As you saw the article saying that December is the worst month. This current December is the second worst month since the Great Depression. And so I think that speaks volumes when he says that this December is creeping on the Great Depression, and we are halfway through the month. So other than that, appreciate you guys for chiming in, my friend, and be safe, be blessed. Give us a thumbs up if you're new to RTD. Click the subscribe button. More importantly, above me over here, if you want to support the channel, which would be more than a blessing, Patreon or Bitcoin, either one. They're both going to be definitely use wisely to promote and to build and grow this channel. So thank you for your time, energy, and effort. Be safe, be blessed, and I will see you guys tomorrow.